Alright, assalamualaikum and good morning. Sorry for the delay. So for today, we will, but first of all, as you're aware here, you can see we have a lot of participants because for this week, I have to combine the class because as you all recall, last Tuesday for Group A, I had to cancel the class because I get the opportunity for you guys to attend the NPC's seminar, Inspiration Day. Okay, hopefully it's a good experience. So for today, as I mentioned, we will finalize the final part of our first topic, which is the short-term financing. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm going to skip for today. Anyway, the short-term financing. So the first three subtopics of this topic was all about working capital management, right? And we can recall as we have cash management, inventory, and so on, account receivable management. Okay, and as I mentioned before, all three needs to be maintained in terms of to maintain the liquidity, okay, liquidity of the company, because all three are the current assets. Okay, but somehow the company may have some problems with regards to liquidity. Okay, so therefore one of the solutions they can take is by taking short-term financing. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm not mistaken, we haven't learned this in any of the topics before in any of the courses, right? Long-term financing, yes, but for short-term financing, I don't think so. So we will explore the types of short-term financing. Okay, what are the short-term financings? And then the most important part is actually to calculate the cost of financing. And since we have few options, so we will have to basically pick or choose the best alternative of all available options. Yeah, there are variety types of short-term financing. Okay, so for this topic, we will learn, or we will go through at least 4 types of short-term financing. The first one is known as straight credit. Okay, so this is considered the easiest option, okay, whereby this straight credit will be given from your suppliers. And then the second option is from banks. Okay, from banks. So for banks, you will see there will be 2 types of banks, bank loans. We have the short-term loans, and we also will see a revolving credit. Okay, revolving credits. So for bank loan, there are 2 types. One is a straight up short-term loans, meaning you will receive the money upfront, lump sum. And another type of loan is a revolving credit, whereby revolving credit, you can imagine it is like a credit card, whereby the bank will give you a credit limit, and you as the account holder can utilize the money throughout a certain period. Okay, but obviously both will have interest on it. And the types of interest that you will see afterwards, we have the regular interest and also we call it the discounted interest. Okay, you will see afterwards the difference between the two. And the fourth option would be the commercial paper. So this is number one, term number two, revolving, and lastly the commercial paper. So we have four types of short-term financing sources. And we have to select which one is considered the best alternative. Okay, the best alternative. And how to compare? Okay, in order to choose the best alternative, we have one method or one call it indication or units of comparison, which is what we call as EIR, effective interest rate, okay, EIR, or also known as APR, okay, annualized percentage rate. So in the bank, most of them they use the word APR, okay, the word APR. Okay, but for us, kita akan guna most of the times the effective interest rate, but more or less it's actually the same thing. Okay, effective interest rate. If you remember in our banking the class we have what we call as nominal and effective rates. Okay, so this is where the effective rate, whereby we adjusted the rates, whereby the nominal, remember that nominal is the rate on the paper or rate on the offer letter. Okay, whereby the effective rate is the adjusted rates. Okay, or in other words, it is the true rate, the actual rate that you have to pay. So the nominal rate is rates just on the paper, but the actual rate that you have to pay might be more. It might be more because you have to adjust it according to various factors. Okay, last time you've learned about the adjustment because of the inflation. Okay, one of the reasons you have to adjust because of inflation. Another thing, you have to adjust because of the terms and conditions of the loans, okay, or the financing. So we have to make some adjustments. So for us, we will look at the terms and conditions that can cause the rates to be different from the nominal rates. Okay, because if you compare between nominal rates, it's not accurate enough. Okay, we cannot compare based on offer letters. Meaning Bank A offers 7%, Bank B offers 6%, automatically we take the lowest one, Bank B, 6%. Not necessarily, because the terms and conditions can cause the rates to differ. So we have to look deeper, look closely if there's any effects on that. So first, let's look at the trade credit. Number one, trade credit. So as I mentioned, this is the easiest, okay, easiest source of fund or source of financing, short-term financing, because you can get this trade credit from the suppliers. If you remember in account receivable management, in order to get the credit, you need to be assessed by the supplier. So for this time around, you are assumed to qualify for the trade credit, and you can get or you can utilize the trade credit from your suppliers. And trade credit is often the largest source of short-term credits for small firms. Okay? For medium-sized firms, most likely they will not utilize the trade credit because even though it's the largest source and is the easiest, however, easy to get, but the cost is expensive. Okay, one the downside of this trade credit is the cost. Okay, the cost is expensive. Okay, it is considered as spontaneous. Right. So cost of credit depends on the credit term. If you remember the credit terms like this one, you're supposed to be familiar already with this trade credit. Okay, so these credit terms offered with a cash discount for early payment. So they will give you some incentive in order for you to pay early, right? So for example, this one has 315 at 30, whereby it means again 3% discount if you pay within 15 days, or else you have to pay full within 30 days. Okay, so where this trade credit comes into picture when we talk about short-term financing. Remember, when we talk about short-term financing, meaning they need to borrow or they need the money, okay, in short-term basis. So imagine, or I give you an example. The company is given this trade credit or credit terms, okay, credit terms, and they purchase a certain amount of goods from the supplier. Let's say the cost is 100,000. Okay, the cost is 100,000. Okay, the cost is 100,000. So what they need to do basically is, in order to get the discount, 3%, they have to pay within 15 days. Or else they have to pay 100,000 in 30 days. Okay, so imagine this company who buy from the supplier have to, basically pay lah within 30 days the 100,000. However, at the same time, this company needs the same 100,000 for something else. Okay, within these 30 days as well. Okay, so they have two options here. Either they have already the 100,000 in order to pay, number one. Okay, but they need the 100,000 for something else, or they can pay this using the 100,000, and the 100,000 that they need for something else, so they have to borrow from somewhere else, for example. So they have two scenarios. Okay, so I'll letak kat sini ya. Option dia, number one is to utilize a fund, utilize the existing money. Or number two, borrow from somewhere else lah. Right. So I give you example for the first one first, which is to utilize the existing fund. So what does it mean? The 100,000 that they have in order to purchase this, they will utilize it, meaning they will not pay the discounts, okay, but they will delay the payment until the net 30. So meaning what I can say here, for number one, they will disregard the discount opportunity. Okay, so technically the funding, this is short-term financing. So where's the money from? It's actually their own money. 100,000 is their own money. Okay, but somehow they disregard or they ignore the discount. Even though it is their own money, but technically there's a cost for this. So for this matter, we need to calculate the cost for foregoing the discounts. Okay, so the measurement is we are using APR or EIR. It's the same thing. Some books may use the terms AOC even. Okay, but you don't have to worry about AOC. We use APR or EIR. So this cost, I repeat, untuk trade credit, is actually refers to cost of foregoing or ignoring the discount. Okay, they have the 100,000, they should pay this in order to get the discount, but they don't want to borrow money from outside. They use the 100,000 for something else, for investment, for whatever reason, besides the trade credit, besides paying to the supplier, right? And this 100,000 have a cost. So how to calculate the cost by foregoing the discount is this formula, right? So we have three items. It's 3, 15, and 30. So we have three information here. Okay, we have three information, and therefore we just need three information too for this formula. So formula is discount. Okay, D is the discount rate. Okay, divide by 100 minus discount rate. Okay, multiply with 360 and divide with credit period minus discount period. Okay, let me label this. I've labeled this before. Okay, so 3 here refers to 3% discount. So this is our D, discount. Okay, and 15 days is the day, number of days given to you to get the discount. So this is the discount period. So the period of discount is only for 15 days. Right? And the total credit period will be 30 days because this is the maximum number of days given to you in order to make full payments. That's it, three information. And if you translate in the formula, okay, the discount is 3%. Okay, divide by 100 minus 3%. Okay, bracket, yes, you can. Multiply with 360. Divide by 30 days minus 15 days. Okay. Can you calculate for me?
0.7423.
If you multiply by 100, so 74%. 74
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 0.2023.
74.23. Yes.
Okay. Sure, I have to my calculator. But anyway, you have to help me today, yeah? In terms of calculation. So 74.23%. What does it mean? Okay, by foregoing the discounts, okay, you tak ambil discount tadi. You're supposed to pay within 15 days in order to get the 3% discount. But because you need that 100,000 for something else, you don't pay, or you didn't take the discount, and you wait until the 30th day. By delaying the payment, correct, and use for something else, the 100,000 that you have to, the cost is equivalent to 74% rates. So that's why I said for trade credit, the cost is actually expensive. Even though we are not using other people's money, it's our own money, but because of the the discount that you either forgo, if you forgo the discount or you ignore the discount, okay, that act or that action that you take costs you 74%. What's the best option actually? If that's the case, and this is the case, right? You are not supposed to utilize the existing fund because it costs you 74%. So what you need to do is actually the 100,000 that you have, okay, pay or get the discount, and the 100,000 that you need for something else, you need to borrow from somewhere else. Borrow from somewhere else. It can be from the bank, from other institutions, whatever, with a maybe higher rate than 3%, but because of the nature of the cost is it's cheaper outside, so better for you to borrow from somewhere else. But this is again on theory, yeah. But in actual, you have to calculate first in order to decide whether to take the trade credit or not. But for trade credit, how to calculate the EIR or the APR is by using this formula. Okay, and out of the 4 options I mentioned earlier, okay, this is the only options with a slightly different formula as compared to the rest. So the other 3 will have a slightly different formula as compared to this one. But the simplest one is actually this one. This one is pretty simple. Okay, but the other 3 options, the external sources whereby you need to borrow from the banks or issue commercial paper, the cost, calculate the cost, it's slightly different, number one, and it's more detailed as compared to this one. For this, we only need 3 information. Simple information comes from one source here, which is the trade credit. Okay, the credit terms need that we use, okay, whereby we have 3 information. That's it. That's the only thing that we need in order to calculate the EIR for the trade credit. So this is our first option. Okay, our first option. And if you remember, this is considered spontaneous. And spontaneous means you as the funds come from inside, internal, and you are the one who decides whether to utilize it or not. Meaning, you have the 100,000, okay, but either to use this 100,000 that you already have, or borrow from somewhere else. Okay. In this case, spontaneous meaning you use your own 100,000 and ignore the discounts. Now we're moving to the non-spontaneous sources of financing. Okay, so the final 3 options here, all non-spontaneous, all from external sources. And first, we will look at the short-term bank loans. Okay, short-term bank loans. Okay, so for short-term bank loan, it is a lump sum, ataupun in short, it's a term loan. Term loan meaning you apply for the bank loans, and the bank, once approved, they will give you whatever amount you want accordingly, and add lump sum. Okay, one shot the amount. Okay, so among the features, since this is short term, obviously maturity not more than 1 year, it should be less than 1 year. What else? This is a form of promissory notes. And besides the short-term bank loans that I mentioned earlier, we also have the second one, which is known as RCA, revolving credits. Okay, revolving credits. So for bank loans, there are two things that you need to know. Okay, 2 things or 2 characteristics that you need to be aware of. Number one is actually, you should know the terms discounted interest. Okay, discounted interest. So what does it mean by discounted interest? Discounted interest means interest that you need to pay upfront. Okay, that you need to pay upfront. The normal interest, okay, the interest will be taken at the end. Okay, at the end of the period. But for discounted interest, the interest is taken upfront. Meaning you have to pay the interest upfront when you receive your disbursement. Okay, the amount of interest needs to be deducted upfront. Okay, so but before we move further, when we talk about interest, I hope you still remember this. Okay, when we talk about interest, okay, you need to know the formula of interest. Okay, so interest equals to be interest equals to principal. Okay, principal is the amount borrowed, okay, the amount that you have to borrow, multiply with the rate of interest. Okay, rate of interest, multiply with the tenure of time. Okay, and this time, okay, equivalent to number of years. So if you want to borrow 1 year, you put 1. Okay, but so since our short-term bank loans mostly less than 1 year, so most of the time it will be in months. So therefore, if it's 5 months, okay, 5 months, the time here you shouldn't put 5, only 5, because if you put only 5, it means 5 years. So in order to represent the 5 months, we have to put 5 over 12. Okay, this is for time. For time. Okay, so the time signify number of years. So if you put 1, it means 1 year. And if you put 5, it means 5 years. But in order to put less than 1 year, you need to take the number of months divided by 12 months. Okay, 5 over 12, 6 over 12, 11 over 12, or even 1 year, 12 over 12, which is equivalent to 1. Okay, that's the only part that you need to be careful in terms of the time under the interest calculations. Okay, and this interest for discounted needs to be paid upfront, okay, at the beginning of the loan. That's number one that you need to know. Number two is this one, CB, compensating balance. Okay, compensating balance refers to minimum balance required throughout the loan period. What does it mean? Meaning if you borrow from bank A, okay, and bank A said, okay, I give you the loan, I give you the money, but you need to maintain 10,000 ringgit in the bank accounts until you fully settle your loan. Okay, I say like I borrow 100,000 from bank A, and bank A said, okay, I give you 100,000, but 10,000 needs to be maintained in the bank account until 9 months of your maturity. So what does it mean? You cannot use 10,000. The 10,000 from the 100,000 needs to be maintained in the account. So what's the impact? These two will affect our capital or our principal. The amount borrowed will be less because we have to pay interest upfront, number one, and we have to maintain the compensating balance in our bank account, number two. Okay, so the impact will be on the principal. Both will reduce our principal. Okay, and this is for bank loans. And on top of that, we have RCE. RCE in that chapter later in terms of the revolving credit. Because the nature of receiving money is slightly different, because like I said, this is similar like a credit card. Similar, I just put similar here. Credit card, whereby you will be given a credit limit, and this credit limit you will utilize it throughout a certain period, 1 year, for example. Okay, you will not receive it in lump sum. Okay, again, kalau tadi for this one, number one, you want to borrow 100,000, you receive 100,000 lump sum. But for this one, maybe similar value, 100,000, but you can utilize maybe this month 10,000, and then next month another 20,000. And when you pay the credit will return back to 100,000, just like credit cards. Okay, but throughout the year, you need to use 100,000. Okay. Anyway, this is a basic formula for all. Okay, for all three different options. Okay, three different options. This is the basic formula, right? But with a slightly twist here and there, according to the types of short-term financing. Okay, but first we want to look at the short-term loans, okay, short-term bank loans. So the formula is interest. Okay, formula is interest. So remember, I wrote this previous page. The interest is principal times rate times time. Okay, and dalam ni dia letak time might be 60, 90, 180 or 360. This is based on days, or it can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months. Okay, either one. You can use in days or you can use in months. So dalam note ni dia letak 360 So meaning this is based on days. Or you can use 12 juga. Okay, or you can use 12 if it's in months. Okay, either one you can use. Anyway, interest is this formula. Divide by proceeds. Okay, divide by proceeds. So what does it mean by proceed? Proceed means available fund. Okay, available fund. So what does it mean by available fund? Even though you are borrowing 100,000 ringgit, as I mentioned before, but because of two reasons, okay, these two reasons, discounted and compositing balance, your proceeds might be lesser because you have to pay interest upfront, number one, or you have to put aside in the compositing balance. So that's why under proceeds, you may have to minus, okay, the amount you borrow, principal, minus the discounted interest, okay, and minus the compositing balance. Both, if any, it's not necessary available for all questions, if any. Okay, but for sure, it will be either one. It will be either one, or it can be both. It cannot be without. Okay, the question will not give just principal without discounts, without CB for short-term loans. Why? If there's no discount or compensating balance, you don't have to bother to calculate because it will be go back to the nominal rate. Nominal rate means the rates in the question, 12% for example. So without proceeds, you calculate, you akan dapat 12% balik. Okay, so usually they will give you either one or both. Okay. And multiply with 12 or 360 depending on the questions, and we divide with the loan period. So this is where it can be tricky sometimes because the second part of the formula is the opposite of your T in the interest. Okay, let me show you. So time tadi is 5/12. Contohnya, if it's 5 months, you have to divide by 12 to get the time or the T. But here, it will be 12/5 lah because the loan period is 5 months. So for this part, it always like this. It's always the 12 months or the 360 on top. We divide with the loan period at the bottom. You don't get confused with the time of the interest calculation. So yeah, that's the only part that you need to be careful about. Okay, I think I don't want to use this example. Okay, I go straight to one of the call it question under under what we call it our exercise. Let's say in the exercise, look at question number 2. Okay, question number 2. Okay. So the left is the question. I will write the answer on the right here. So MMA company requires 400,000. So this is the amount that need to borrow, 400,000, to support working capital requirement for 3 months, only 3 months. So this is our end, basically, or our time. So this is our principal, 400,000. Calculate the effective cost of the following alternatives. So all 4 options available in this question. And the end, they ask us to determine which is considered the best and justify why. Okay. So justification is very straightforward. I will explain to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I think I will restart back. If you remember, the very first option just now is by foregoing trade credit. You forego a trade credit. So I will start with question number 4, or the option number 4 here, whereby they provide us the credit terms of 515 net 50. Okay, so for number 4, the EIR, the effective interest rate, is like this. The discount rate is 5%. Okay, and it's 100 minus 5%. And we multiply with 360. The number of days of 50 minus 15. All right, so can you help me to calculate this? So 5% minus, or divide by 95, 5 minus 95, times 360, divide by 35.
Fifty-four point four one
54.14.
14.
Okay, 54.14%. Okay, thank you. So that's option number 4, 54%. So from now, from here also you can see it's quite expensive, 54%. Okay, that's number 4, and that's how we calculate based on the trade credit. Right, now we go back to the short-term bank loans. Okay, bank loans. So from these 3 options available left, which is 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, number 3, for example, issue commercial paper. So issue commercial paper, we haven't discussed yet. Then number 2 is revolving credit again. We haven't discussed about this as well. So we left with number 1, which is the bank loans. So apply for a loan from ABC Bank that pays annual interest rate of 7.5%. So this is the nominal rate, the 7.5%. On discounted basis. So this is the terms or the keyword that you need to find. When they mention about discounted basis or discount interest, we know we have to deduct interest upfront. Okay, look for the word discount. Okay, it can be discounted basis like this, or they can use discounted interest, the word discounted interest. So from there, you know the interest must be deducted upfront. Okay, that's number 1. Bank requires 12% compositing balance. Okay, so this is the CB, compositing balance. So meaning, for this question, we need to deduct both. Under our proceeds later on, we need to deduct the discount interest and also the CB, compositing balance. So our proceed will be much lesser than the original amount that we borrow, which is 400,000. We borrow 400,000, but the proceeds that you can utilize will be lesser than that. And but for this company, the MMA company currently maintains a demand deposit of 40,000, meaning they are existing customer of ABC Bank, and they already have 40,000 in the accounts. Okay, so what will be the impact? I'll show you afterwards. So how to answer this? Okay, so this is basically your first time looking at how to solve short bank loans. Even though I gave you the formula just now, EIR equals to interest divided by proceeds times 12 divided by loan period. Okay, but in order to use or to calculate the EIR, we need to do the groundwork first. Okay, the preliminary working first. So I will suggest always like this. You will always start with finding the interest first. Okay, find the interest using the formula I gave you earlier. Okay, principal multiply with the rates, multiply with the time. Okay, so the principal is this one. The bank requires 400,000. So 400,000 is the principal. The rate is 7.5%. 0.075. And the time is 3 months. Okay, they want to borrow for 3 months only. So it's 3/12. Okay, what will be the interest for this? $7,500. Okay, 7,500. So that's number one. So next, you know this is the discounted interest. So meaning your proceeds you need to deduct 7,500 ringgit. Next, we need to calculate the actual compositing balance. So I put here CB, compensating balance. Remember, compensating balance is the minimum amount you need to put in the account throughout the loan period. Okay, and the bank specify 12%. So they don't specify the actual ringgit, but it's 12% based on your borrowing. So if you borrow 400,000, okay, you borrow 400,000, you need to keep aside 12%. Okay, 12%. And remember, CB ni not interest, so you don't have to multiply with the time. It's just 12% of the borrowings. So how much is this? 48,000. Okay, 48,000. Okay, so CB 48,000 meaning you need to keep in the account 48,000. Okay. If the question don't have this last line, okay, yang MMA maintains demand deposit 40,000, we don't have to do anything with our CB. So meaning we will deduct our proceeds with the 48,000 solid amount. Okay, but for this question, they provide you with the scenario that the company, the MMA already maintains a demand deposit program. Meaning, what does it mean? The company already have some money in the bank account. Okay, so what does it mean? You don't have to deduct all 48,000 in your proceeds because 40,000 is already in the bank account. Okay, I'll show you afterwards how it will affect our proceeds. Okay, our proceed will be amount borrowed 100,000. Okay, the interest 7,500 needs to be deducted because this is a discount interest. Okay, this is a discount interest. Remember, it's not all the time you need to minus interest. You need to look for the keyword of the discounted interest or discounted basis. If there's no indication of discounted interest, you don't have to deduct 7,500 because it means that it's a normal interest. You just need to pay this at the end. Okay, but since this is a discounted interest, the 7,500 needs to be paid upfront, so this will be deducted from the loan amount. Okay, and we need to deduct 48,000. Okay, 48,000. However, like I said, this 48,000, the bracket here, will be reduced because we already have 40,000 in the account. So you have to deduct 40,000 here. Okay, in short, what does it mean? You need to keep 48,000 in the account because the bank requires 12% of 400,000. But since we already have 40,000 in the account, so technically we just need to deduct 8,000 here. Okay, so that's why I put the bracket here. In this bracket, when you minus, you get 8,000. So this 8,000 here, you will be deducted from the proceeds. Okay, not the total 48 because 40,000 is already in the account. Okay, like this. Check for other example. Okay, for example, kalau you tengok question number 1 ni. Question number 1, alternative 1, loan from one bank, 10%. Okay, so this example is another good example because number 1, there's no indication of a discount interest. So meaning you don't have to minus discount, minus the interest upfront because there's no indication of discounted interest here. Taken from 10%, yeah, deducted 10% discounted basis, for example, and they maintain 7% compositing balance. That's it. There's no indication that they already have certain amount of money in the account. So meaning whatever 7% out of 800,000, The full amount you need to deduct here. So maknanya you don't have to put a bracket kat sini lah. Okay, so that's another example. For this MMA, you have to adjust like this. So berapa ni total? 400 minus 7,005 minus 8,000.
384, 500.
4, 500. So that's it. The left-hand side, we already have the interest divided by the proceeds. Then multiply with 12 months and divide with the loan period. So last, baru we can calculate the EIR. Okay, so the formula was interest 7,500 divide with the proceed 384,500 multiply with 12 divide with the loan period of 3 months. Okay, whatever you get times 100 to get it in percentage. So be the effective rates.
Seven point eight.
7.8%. So that's our first option, okay? Bank loans from ABC Bank with these terms. Okay, you see on paper it is 7.5%, but with the discounted basis and with the compensating balance, our actual payment would be based on 7.8%. It's not 7.5, 7.5 is the nominal. So the effective rate is 7.8. You are actually paying more. You are actually paying more than the actual or on paper's rates. All right, so that's short-term loans. Okay, remember there are two things that you need to aware of. Number one is the interest payment, either it's regular or normal interest like this. But in terms of calculation of interest, is the same, either regular ke discounted ke. The I equals P times R times T itu it will be the same, but the deduction the difference. Kalau regular, you don't have to deduct the proceeds, but if it's discount interest, have to deduct the proceeds by a certain amount of interest lah. And second is the CB, capacity balance. You need to aware of the CB. So for CB, the twist would be if there's any current balance in the account. Okay, if there's none, then you deduct the whole CB requirements, or if there's any amount balance in the account, you find the difference. Okay, find the difference amount that you have to pay, or you have to deduct the CB, and also the amount that you have currently. Most of the time, the amount you have is less than the CB requirement. Okay, seldom they will give you the other way around. So, like I said, the interest in CB will be based, or it might have either one. Okay, either one, or it can be both. Okay, either one, or it can be both, because it shouldn't be neither. Meaning, tak mungkin there's no interest, or there's no discounted interest, and there's no CB. If that's the case, it will be the same. So meaning your effective rate will be the same as the nominal rate. So you don't have to calculate actually. But that's why in the question they give you either one. Okay, at least CB mesti ada. It's just like example number one just now. Now we move on to the third one. Okay, the third option, which is the revolving credit agreements. Okay, so I recap. Number one, we have trade credit. Number two, we have bank loans. Okay, term loans. Now we have number three, which is RCA, revolving credit agreements. Okay, and here the source still comes from the bank, but the nature of payment is slightly different. Okay, like I said, the bank will not give you the principal upfront in lump sum. Okay, whereby to RCA, you can utilize the fund given to you on staggered basis. Okay, bit by bit. Okay. However, right, one downside or one terms that you need to aware of RCA is if you're given a certain amount of credit limit, you need to utilize it 100%. If not, okay, you will be charged with commitment fees. You have to pay for commitment fees for the unused portion. Meaning if you're given 100,000 ringgit, okay, and you only use 90,000 or 95,000 contohnya. So the balance 5,000 that you're not using it, you have to pay for the commitment fees. Okay, so this is the example. If you don't use 5% of the total amount, this 5% will be charged with commitment fees. And these commitment fees will be added to your interest in order to calculate the EIR. So that's why for this RCA, the EIR calculation, we add CF, minimum fees, together with the interest, and the rest is the same. So interest plus minimum fees, divide with the proceed. So the definition of proceed is still the same, the usable fund or the available fund for you. Okay, so you have to deduct CB in this case, if any. Okay, or if it's discount, you may have to deduct if using discounts, times 360 or times 12 over loan period. So the back here is still the same line, 360 or 12. And the formula of interest also remain the same. So the only difference here is the element of commitment fees. And remember, this commitment fees is just charged on the unused portion. So again, example level here, you given credit limit of 100,000. So you pecah dua ni, 90,000 you utilize, 10K you not utilize. So this 90K you have to pay interest, and this 10K you have to pay the commitment fees. Something like that. So either way, you have to pay for total 100K. You'll be paying total 100K, but in the different rates lah. The 90K used, okay, this is used. Example je lah, this is used, this is unused. Okay, 90K used, you have to calculate the interest like this. So principal is not 100K, the principal is 90K because you only use 90K. Right? The unused portion, the 10K, have to calculate the commitment fees. Okay, multiply lah with the commitment fees rates. Okay, so you will see additional rate in the question for the commitment fees. So again, let's look at the question just now. So for revolving credit agreement is for question number 2. So MMA has a revolving credit agreement with Deaf Bank for the total amount of 450K. This is the amount given to you. But remember, when we talk about short-term financing, the amount that you need to borrow is just this much, the 400,000. So for RCA, revolving credit agreement, they will always give you more. Why they give you more? Because they want you to calculate the unused portion. Okay, there will be some unused amount needs to be calculated. Okay, you borrow 400, but you're given 450. So meaning there's a certain amount that you will not utilize it. So in this case, the difference would be 50K. So 50K will be charged with commitment fees. So the commitment fee is 5%. Okay, on the unused loans. The interest is 8%. The interest is 8%. And they have a CB requirement. Contains a checking account of 15K. So this is the checking, the CB. CB is 15,000. So again, so you have all this information. Always start when we talk about short-term financing, I always encourage you to use these steps. Always starts with interest. We calculate the interest. We know, even though given 450,000, you just calculate the principal at 400 because this is the amount that we want to borrow. Okay, and to compare with other options, we cannot use 450 here. Even though you give 450, you cannot utilize all. Because to compare with other options, you need to make it consistent. Okay, so the 400,000 amount that you will utilize, the rate is 8%, 0.08. So for this question, still 3 months lah. We over. Berapa ni? 9,600.
8,000.
8,000. Okay, so tadi 7,500. So that's the interest. we need to calculate the commitment fees. Okay. Fee is based on the unused amount. Okay. You're given 450, you use 400, so meaning 50K will be unused, 50,000. And this 50,000 will be charged with 5% premium fees. You multiply with 5%. 4,000, sorry, 1,005. So this is commitment fee. So our numerator on top, interest plus commitment fees, we already have it. Okay, next, we look at capacity balance. The CB, okay, the checking account, 15,000. Tak kira lah, tak ada bagi full amount, 15,000. So you don't have to multiply with the rates because for this, they give you a solid 15K. And there's no indication that MME has a bank account with Deaf Bank yet. Okay, so they don't have any current amount in the account. So what's next? The EIR lah. Okay, we calculate the effective interest rate. So remember for RCA, revolving credits, it's interest 8,000 plus commitment fees is 2,500. Divide with the proceed. Okay, proceed tak letak We're supposed to calculate proceed. So proceed would be 400K minus 15,000. 385. Okay, you divide with 385,000 times 12 over 3. Months. 10. Okay. Okay, so that's our third option. So we done the first, which is trade credit, and then we've done the bank loans, and now we've done the RCA, revolving credit agreements. Okay, so as of now, 54%, 4% kat sini, then 7.8% for the second option, 7.8%, and the third one is 10.91. Okay, now we have one more, which is commercial paper. Okay, but before we move to the commercial paper, we take a short break lah. We take 5, right? We take 5 before we finalize the last options and then how to choose the best option of all options available. Okay, so let's take 5.
Sir,
Ya,
yang untuk soalan 2 tu, kenapa kena tambah 2,500 kan?
sebab ni commitment fees. Okay, the formula is interest plus commitment fees. So the 2005 tu is the commitment fees, whereby we have unused portion.
So, biasanya kat soalan dia akan mention lah unused portion tu.
Mention tadi kan?
Ya, kat soalan lain pun macam tu, kalau untuk ni dia akan mention. Dia ada
sometimes they may not use the word unused portion, but you can see the difference between amount that they need. So, contohnya first question they need 800,000, but for RCA, the limit is 1 million. So you know the difference is the unused lah. We always use the 800,000 je, the amount borrowed je. So the balance, the difference too, will be charged with the commitment fees. So dalam ni pun dia bagi tahu 0.5% commitment fees charged on the unused portion. Okay, but if they don't specify the word unused portion, it will be charged on unused portion. You know For RCA, they will always give you more. Ni contohnya, 800 against 1 million. So question number 2, 400 against 450. So for question 3, for example, they need 180. The RCA is 250. So always dia akan bagi you more lah. So you know when we talk about the difference tu, that's the unused portion.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Alright, okay. All right. Let's look at the final option. Okay, the final option is the commercial paper. Okay, so what does it mean, commercial paper? It is a short-term loans, okay, or short-term instruments issued by a large company, usually large company, or an established company with a good financial background, and they will sell the commercial papers, okay, and this commercial paper will be purchased by investors. Okay, so commercial paper, in short, you can refer as a promissory notes, or it's quite similar like bond. A bond, if you remember, is a long-term instrument. Okay, long-term instrument. But for commercial paper, it is a short-term instruments lah. Short-term loans, and it will last between 180 to 70 or anything less than 1 year. Okay, less than 1 year. So usually, why company prefers commercial paper? Because as compared to bank loans, okay, the rates of the interest is based on the bank. Okay, similar macam bond juga lah. Okay, but for commercial paper, they can negotiate or offers the commercial papers according to their preference, okay, to their financial background. And usually the cost would be 0.5 to 1% cheaper, okay, cheaper than the bank rates, the prime rates. Okay, another pros or advantage of issuing commercial paper, there will be no compensated balance, okay, because we don't keep or we don't borrow from the bank, so therefore we don't affected by the bank's requirement for compensated balance. So therefore your proceeds will not be affected by the CB. Okay, number one. Okay, but it will be sold at discount, and therefore our proceeds will be deducted by the discount, similar like discount period. Okay, similar like discount period. And another difference here is the placement fees. Okay, placement fees. So kalau dalam RCA we have commitment fees, placement fees, or sometimes we call it issuing costs. Okay, it is payments to the bank, okay, or to the dealer, or to the broker. Okay, sometimes they call it brokerage fee, issuing costs, placement fees, all refers to the same thing. When the company wants to issue commercial paper, they need to hire or they need to work together with the bank, the investment bank, and this investment bank will charge fees. It will charge fees, so the fees needs to be paid by the issuer, which is the company that needs money. Okay, so this is the formula. Okay, the basic formula still remain the same. Okay, the interest. Okay, the ones in the bottom here, if I put a bracket here, face value minus interest minus PF, this is technically the proceed. Okay, this is actually proceeds. Okay, proceed. So the proceed for commercial paper is a fixed one. The principal, this is the principal, the face value, minus the interest. Remember, this is the discounted rate. Okay, and the placement fees, minus the placement fees. Okay, so maybe akan nampak ada a few different formulas kat sini. So for me, okay, what I'll do, the steps will remain the same as before. So meaning the interest still, you akan calculate interest equals P times R times T. Okay, so this interest will be deducted here from your total principal, and you just deduct the placement fees. How much is the placement fees, right? And then multiply with 360 or 12 divided by loan period is the same. So technically, this formula is similar like the bank loans, but the difference is we don't have CB, we don't have compensated balance, but we have discounted interest. So this interest is similar like a discounted interest, and we have placement fees as a replacement. Okay, so let's look at final options, which is number 3. Okay, so issue commercial papers on a discounted basis. Remember, discounted, the interest needs to be deducted. Even though the question doesn't specify discounted, for commercial papers, it's always at discounted basis. Okay. The rate of interest is 10%, so this is our R, rate of interest. The placement fee is 3,000 per paper. So this is where we need to identify later on how many papers actually that we need to sell. And the par value is 40,000 each. 40,000 each. So the par value of the paper is 40,000, and the cost is 3,000 per paper. That's it. That's the information. So again, we will start with the calculation of interest. Always starts with interest. So the principal would be 400,000. The rate is 10%. Okay, and the the time is 3 months. 3/12. Berapa ni?
10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 ringgit is the interest. What else we need? We need the placement fees. Okay, in order to find the placement fees, we know the cost is 3,000 per paper. So 1 unit of commercial paper, you have to pay 3,000 ringgit. So the next question is, how many papers? So if I put placement fee here with the 3,000 per paper, we multiply with find the number of papers. So find the number of papers. You know you borrow 400,000 and 1 paper equivalent to 40,000. So take the amount that you need to borrow and divide with the par value for 1 paper, which is 40,000. So the ones in bracket, this actually will define to you the number of papers. So 400 divided by 40 is 10 papers. So meaning in order to get 400,000, okay, MMA has to sell 10 unit of commercial papers in order to get 400,000, because 1 paper equivalent to 40,000 ringgit. So if one paper for 40,000, so if you multiply by 10 papers, then you get the 400,000. Okay, so this is the way how to get the number of papers. So 3,000 times 10 is 30,000. 30,000 is the placement fees. And don't forget the receipts. You borrow 400,000. The interest is 10,000. Always minus the interest because commercial paper is always on discounted basis. And the placement fee is 30,000. So 360,000. Okay, 360,000. So the EIR, effective interest rate, would be interest of 10,000 by 360,000 extra over 3.
$11.11.
11.1.
11.
11. Okay, so that's our 4th option, or the 3rd one in our question. Smaller and smaller. Okay, but anyway, so we have, if we go in sequence, the first option is the bank loans, which is 7.8%. Second option is the RCA, Revolving Credit Agreement, at 10.91%. Option 3, commercial paper, 11.11%. Okay, and lastly, the trade credit, 54.14%. So they keep on increasing from one option to another. Kebetulan je. Okay, so to answer your the question, okay, so we have to calculate all. Okay, because the question asks calculate effective cost for the following alternatives. So we've calculated all four. Okay, and the last part, they ask us to determine the best alternative and why. Okay, so we have to compare all rates: 54, 7.8, 10.91, and also 11.11. So from here is very obvious. The best option is this one, is the bank loans. So to answer, jawablah kat bawah tu when you done your calculation at the very bottom there. Okay, you can say choose bank loans because it offers so the justification because it offers the lowest rate, or you can use the word cheapest rate. It's acceptable. Okay, so you need to choose whichever the lowest. Okay, and the justification because it offers the lowest rate. That's it. Okay. So why the question kata determine, number one, we determine, we just choose whichever the best, which is the lowest. And why? The justification is always the same. For all question, the reason, bila dia tanya, it must be because it's the cheapest rate, or the lowest rate. Okay, kalau you cakap, okay, choose bank loan saja, then you full stop, then you tak dapat full mark lah because you don't justify. Okay, so you have to justify it by stating it's either use the word lowest rate or use the word cheapest rate. Okay, both are acceptable. Okay, and to choose again, choose the lowest because this is financing. This is not investment. If investment, we choose whichever higher, right? But in this case, because you want to borrow, so obviously you choose whichever the lowest, okay, the lowest rate. Yeah. And that's short-term financing. Okay, short-term financing. We have four options. I recap. The spontaneous, the internal would be the trade credits, and then the non-spontaneous ataupun from the external would be the bank loans, the term loans, okay, short-term loans. Then we have the revolving credit agreement, RCA. Then we have the commercial paper. Okay. So total four. Soalan akan tanya based on these four only. Okay. And some question might exclude the spontaneous even. Okay, meaning they exclude the trade credit, just focus on the three external sources, which is again bank loans, revolving credit, or commercial paper. So it depends on question. So minimum three questions or three sources, or else they will ask all four together with the trade credit. Right. So with that, lama juga nak habis ni. We conclude the first topic, and as I mentioned last week, there will be quiz for the first topic, which is under the short-term financing lah. Okay, so the question will be based on this. Bukan soalan nombor 2 lah, obviously. Let's see. Okay, the question is already in my guru, but I haven't created the tapak yet. So I'll prepare in my guru later on the assignment in this section here, the quiz in this section. Okay, and you have to submit there. Okay, you have to submit there. So I'll give you until next Monday. Okay. If you do go now, memang tak ada. But once you want to submit it by next Monday, you submit via my guru. So now I need to choose question 3 or 4. Yeah. Sama je senang. Okay lah, we do question number 4. Okay, question number 4. So I will re-upload the question together with the instruction question number 4 ni dalam my guru. But if you free or if you terlebih rajin, you can start doing question number 4. And once the section available in my guru, you can upload your answer there for our first quiz. So do question number 4 from the exercise. Okay, question number 4, yeah. So yeah, anything you want to ask me?
Sorry, sir. It can
Yeah.
be in handwriting, right?
Yes, can.
All right, thank you, sir.
Anyway, any other matters? So first topic ni dah take. This is our week number 4 dah. Right, week number 4. So for our next meeting, we will go to topic number 2. Again, topic number 2 ni we will take at least 2 sessions. Just to let you know some of the elements you need to know lah, sebab kita akan calculate based on the net present value and also internal rate of returns. Okay, so for topic number 2, it's best if you have the financial calculators, because if you want to calculate the net present value, we don't want to calculate it one by one using the table. So might as well we use the financial calculators, easier for us to calculate. Alright, so if there's no other matters, I'll stop here for today. Thank you very much for your time. Untuk hari cuti ni, I don't want to delay because of the cuti lah, since we are at home. So might as well we, I don't know lah, tak semua yang dekat Klang Valley pun. So yeah, thank you very much. So inshallah I'll see you guys next week. Right, so yang group A, we will go back to our original, and so this is the only time yang kita combine, so next week we go back to the original schedule. Right, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.